Who doesn't love a good, happy ending? No, not that kind, you degenerates. You know the one where the hero saves the day, the ultimate villain gets defeated, and the will they won't they couple finally get it together, and life has seemingly worked out pretty well, allowing TV characters to ride off into the sunset, with the TV show itself able to rest in peace and going out on its own terms, with both the creators and the fans happy. Of course, some TV shows couldn't possibly end on a high note. It wouldn't be true to form for The Sopranos to suddenly finish on a positive, or for Twin Peaks to bring us any sort of closure. But others, say the likes of your Spaceds or your Parks and Recreations, needed to leave audiences satisfied in a way that only a happy ending could. But then there are some TV shows where the endings seem joyous, but are really hiding some dark truths underneath the surface. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 7 TV show endings with disturbing implications you totally missed. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 7. Chuck. Sarah's memories might not be restored. Although the relationship between Chuck and Sarah didn't start off as the show's central focus, it was the most pressing question by the end. The final season saw her memories wiped due to a faulty upload, which the finale then attempted to put right. The episode ends with the pair kissing as well, implying that her memories have been restored and all is well. However, there's really no confirmation that this is the case, and there's just as much of a chance that Sarah's memories aren't actually back. That, in turn, would mean that the pair would need to fall in love all over again, except this time Sarah would have to combat the fact that Chuck possesses knowledge that she doesn't have, and there's nothing to guarantee that things would happen the same way, or that her memories would ever be returned. Happily ever after? Not likely. Number 6. Lost. What happened before they died? Although certainly divisive amongst fans, Lost's ending is intended to be something of a happy-ish one, with the characters at least finding a little bit of peace. However, while the characters would all be reunited in the afterlife, it's what comes before that's in question. Since we see them all back together, there's an implication that, although many of them would go on to lead full lives, that they never made other connections beyond those with the people from the island. Obviously, the Oceanic 815 crash was a huge moment in their lives, but the finale marks it out as the single most important experience they'd ever have, and that's the people they met there and the relationships, both friendly and romantic, that are all that really mattered to the characters such as Sawyer and Kate, while also implying that Christian had a lot of control over their fate too. So while the show is saying that yeah, they could have had decades to live beyond that moment, they actually achieved very little of note, met no one, and loved nothing enough that it meant more to them than the crash. Great. Number 5. Breaking Bad. Jesse will be caught. The finale of Breaking Bad pulled off a near impossible feat, somehow bringing to a close the crime epic in a way that felt satisfying to the majority of fans, as well as providing a happy ending that would give the surviving characters a chance at a fresh start. Except Walt anyway. The only trouble though is that a fresh start is much easier said than done. Jesse was a key part of the Albuquerque meth empire for years, and with the police swarming the area, it's highly unlikely that he'd actually be able to escape, as Vince Gilligan himself has suggested, and instead he'd face a hefty prison sentence. And hell, even if he did get away though, there's no guarantee for a fresh start, and much the same can be said for the White family. Skylar has to live with knowing what Walt did, so too, to an extent, does Walt Jr., and Holly will grow up without a father, and if she's ever told the truth, it'll be downright horrible to learn, no matter how much money Walt left behind. And yeah, he may be gone, but the scars left behind will run deep. And also, what the hell happened to Huel? Is he just dying in that room? Please give us closure, Vince Gilligan. Number 4. Frasier. He might end up alone. Frasier wraps up with the Cranes finding a sense of fulfillment. Everyone is getting what they wanted, except it seems for Frasier himself. While it initially seems as though he's going to go through with moving to San Francisco, where he'd be the host of his own TV show, the ending instead reveals that he's gone to Chicago to be with Charlotte, a woman he's only known for a few months. His moving farewell speech explains why he took the risk, but it also undercuts the perceived happiness of the finale. There's no evidence to suggest that Frasier and Charlotte will work out, and indeed they seem quite opposite to each other, and instead it seems more likely that he's given up on a dream job to chase something he wants because those around him also have it, meaning he might be destined to end up alone and without a real place in life. Bummer. Number 3. How I Met Your Mother, Ted and Robyn don't work. How I Met Your Mother's finale is pretty widely hated by fans, not just for the fact that it reverts to Ted and Robyn, but the way it skips over his time with the actual mother and her death so very quickly. However, the worst part is there's not much to suggest the happy ending is actually going to work out. Obviously, Ted and Robyn are at very different points in their lives than they were during the timeline of the show, but over the course of 9 seasons, we were repeatedly shown just how they didn't work as a couple, and on top of that, Ted has 2 kids. It's one thing being cool Aunt Robyn, but a completely different prospect being a stepmother. It's also worth remembering that the final scene with Ted telling the kids was shot way back in season 2, meaning that it was always going to come back to this, no matter how little sense it might have made in the preceding years. So yeah, essentially Ted spent 9 seasons telling his kids how he wanted to absolutely bone their aunt, in a relationship that probably won't work out anyway. Number 2. Friends. Everybody gets a happy ending except Joey. When it comes to sitcoms, Friends has one of the happiest of all endings. Ross and Rachel are finally properly together again, Monica and Chandler have their children and are ready to move into a new house, and Phoebe's married to everyone's dream man Paul Rudd, finding a family life she never had growing up on the streets. It's pretty much perfect. Pretty much. Because what the hell is going to happen to Joey? Although not the smartest of people, Joey was the nicest person amongst the whole group, and yet as they all go off to their happily ever afters and new lives, he's left alone. He may not want to be the woman chasing "how you doing?" I can't do that accent Joey of years gone by, but he also doesn't have too much of a chance for change. All of his closest friends are moving on with their lives, and he's standing still. And that's all before you get into just how disturbing it is that he'd end up with his own spin-off show, Joey. Truly the worst of all timelines. Number 1. Mad Men. Don Draper just goes back to normal. The Mad Men finale is a brilliant ending for the show, with a sense of closure for all the characters and the likes of Joan, Peggy, and Roger ready to embark on exciting new adventures. But ultimately, it all comes down to Don Draper. Don went through one hell of a journey of self-discovery in the show as he attempted to come to terms with his past and his identity and find some inner peace for his damaged soul. And in the closing moments as he sat at a yoga retreat, it looked as though he'd finally achieved just that. But then it transitions into an advertisement for Coca-Cola, and we realize that this isn't what Don's truly found. And yes, it may be a great advert, but it also means that for all he's been through, Don hasn't really changed all that much. He's still the ad man, a madman, the guy who invented love to sell nylons. Don's still alone, love is still just a concept to flog things to people who don't want it, and we the consumers are there buying it all up. So that's our list. Let me know down in the comments below whether you can think of more TV shows with horrible implications of their supposed happy endings. And while you're there, please give us a like, share, a subscribe, and even head over to whatculture.com for more lit fire content like this every single day. As always, I've been Josh, you've been watching What Culture, and I'll see you soon.